It was just after 7 a.m. when the rain began to fall. Soft at first, like the sky was quietly weeping, then harder, like the clouds themselves were breaking down in sorrow. The street was nearly empty. Just a boy with a bright red raincoat and a bundle of something wet and unmoving by the sidewalk. Most people rushed past without looking twice. They had work, errands, coffee runs. But not Liam. Liam stopped. He was only 10 years old, but that morning, his heart was heavier than most adults could bear. His backpack dragged on his shoulders, but it wasn't the weight of books. It was what he had seen lying by the road. It was a dog, skinny, shivering, soaked to the bone. Its fur clung to its body like tattered cloth. One eye was swollen shut. Its ribs poked through its skin like the bars of a cage. Liam's breath caught in his throat. He slowly knelt down beside the dying creature. "Hey, buddy," he whispered, his voice trembling. "Can you hear me?" The dog didn't move. He reached out, hand shaking, and gently touched its paw. It was ice cold. Tears welled in Liam's eyes. He blinked fast, trying to hold them back. But one slipped down his cheek and landed on the dog's fur. And that's when it happened. The dog's ear twitched. Liam gasped. "You're alive." In that moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. He ripped off his raincoat and wrapped it around the dog, his tiny hands trembling. "Hold on, okay? I'm going to help you. I promise." He looked around, hoping for someone, anyone, to stop. Cars kept rolling by. Eyes avoided him. He pulled out his cheap school phone, the one with cracks in the screen, and dialed the first number he could remember. "Mom, I need help. There's a dog, he's hurt. Please, he's going to die." "Liam, where are you?" Her voice came through, panicked. "Near the corner store." "Hurry." As he hung up, Liam turned back to the dog and started talking to it, softly, constantly. "You're going to be okay. I'm here now. My mom's coming. You'll be warm soon and you'll eat. You'll run again. I know it hurts right now, but don't sleep. Please." He placed his hand on the dog's chest, feeling for movement. It was there barely. A faint, fluttering thump. But it was enough. By the time his mom's car screeched to a halt, Liam was soaked to the skin, mud streaked up his pants, and his nose red from the cold. But he didn't care. "We need to get him to a vet," Liam shouted as the door opened. His mom gasped at the sight. "Oh, Liam, okay, help me get him in the car." They lifted the dog gently, carefully, and placed him in the back seat. Liam didn't even buckle his seatbelt. He just sat beside the dog, stroking his matted fur. At the clinic, the vet rushed out as soon as they saw the state of the animal. "What happened?" "He was just lying there," Liam said, breathless. "No one stopped. But I couldn't just leave him." The vet nodded and took the dog inside. Then came the wait. Minutes stretched into hours. Liam sat in the waiting room, legs swinging off the bench, hands clenched in his lap. His mom brought him hot chocolate. He barely touched it. Finally, the vet returned. "He's critical," she said, kneeling in front of Liam. "He's malnourished, dehydrated, and his leg is broken. But," she smiled gently, "he's a fighter. And you gave him a chance." Liam's eyes sparkled. "He's going to make it. We're doing everything we can." Over the next few days, Liam visited the clinic every afternoon after school. He brought old blankets from home, read storybooks aloud, and even left his favorite stuffed toy by the dog's side. He named him Shadow. The dog was slow to recover. But every time Shadow opened his eyes a little longer, or lifted his head just an inch higher, Liam's heart swelled with hope. But one night, on the 4th day, Liam came to the clinic only to find the lights dimmed. The nurse looked solemn. "I'm sorry, Liam." Shadow took a turn. "No," he whispered, his voice cracking. "Please, can I see him?" The nurse nodded. Inside the dim kennel, Shadow lay motionless. Machines beeped softly. His breathing was shallow. Liam sat down beside him, pressing his face into the blanket. "You're not alone," he whispered. "You're my best friend now. Please don't go." As another tear rolled down his cheek, Shadow's tail gave a faint wag. And then his eyes opened. To be continued. Liam barely slept that night. The image of Shadow's fragile body, the machines, the flicker of life in those tired eyes. It all played in his mind like an unfinished story. By morning, he was already dressed, standing by the front door with his backpack slung loosely over one shoulder. "Are you sure you don't want to rest today?" his mom asked gently. "I need to see him," Liam said. His voice wasn't loud, but it held a quiet determination that silenced any argument. When they reached the vet clinic, Liam pushed the door open and rushed in. The nurse from the night before gave him a soft smile. "He made it through the night," she said. "Barely, but he's hanging on." Relief washed over Liam. He felt like he could finally breathe. He hurried to the recovery room. Shadow was still lying still, but his eyes opened when he heard Liam's voice. "Hey, buddy," Liam whispered, kneeling beside him. "You're still fighting, huh?" Shadow let out a weak whine and tried to shift. Liam reached out and gently patted his head. The dog's tail moved. Just a little, just enough. "He remembers you," the vet said, walking in. "That connection you made, it's keeping him grounded." The vet updated Liam on Shadow's condition. Infection had set into the leg, and they were doing everything possible to stop it from spreading. His heart rate was erratic, his breathing labored. But he was still here. "Can I read to him?" Liam asked. "Of course," the vet smiled. Liam pulled out a crumpled book from his bag, his favorite adventure story, and began reading. His voice was soft, sometimes wavering, but full of heart. Shadow listened. His breathing slowed, his body relaxed. Every day after school, Liam returned. Rain or shine. His mom sometimes waited hours in the car, but she never complained. She saw what this meant to her son. One evening, as Liam walked in with a fresh blanket and a drawing he'd made of Shadow as a superhero, the nurse met him with wide eyes. "He stood up today," she whispered. "Only for a moment, but he did it." Liam nearly dropped his drawing in excitement. Shadow was awake, his ears perked at Liam's approach. Liam sat beside him and unrolled the drawing. "Look, this is you, Super Shadow. You saved the world with your tail and your heart." The dog actually wagged his tail, stronger this time. The bond between boy and dog had turned into something deeper. It was no longer just rescue. It was love. Family. Weeks passed. Shadow's wounds healed, slowly but surely. His fur began to grow back, and color returned to his eyes. The clinic started calling him their miracle dog. But there was still one challenge left, his leg. Despite healing, the leg had become twisted, infected beyond saving. The vet sat Liam down one afternoon. "We need to amputate. If we don't, it'll risk his life." Liam's heart dropped. "But he won't be able to run?" The vet placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. "He will. Dogs adapt. And Shadow's a fighter. But we need your permission. You saved him. You should decide." Liam looked over at Shadow, who was watching him from the kennel with trusting eyes. "Do it," Liam whispered. "If it saves him, do it." The surgery was scheduled for the next morning. Liam didn't sleep that night either. He lay awake, staring at the ceiling, whispering little prayers to whoever might be listening. At dawn, he was back at the clinic. He kissed Shadow on the head before the procedure began. "You come back to me, okay? I'll be waiting." The next few hours were the hardest of Liam's life. Time moved like cold molasses. Every second felt like an eternity. Finally, the vet emerged. He made it. The surgery went smoothly. He's resting now. Liam let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. Tears streamed down his face, but this time, they were from relief. When he saw Shadow later that evening, the dog was groggy, stitched up, and down one leg, but he wagged his tail as soon as he saw Liam. "You did it," Liam whispered. "You really did it." That night, Liam stayed at the clinic until closing. He sang to Shadow, talked to him about school, and made up silly stories just to make the dog's eyes light up. As the staff turned off the lights, one vet turned to another and said, "I've never seen anything like this. That boy's love, it's stronger than medicine." By the next week, Shadow was up and walking on 3 legs. Unsteady at first, but determined. Liam cheered every step like it was a victory march. But just as things seemed perfect, a letter arrived at the clinic. It was from the City Pound. They had tracked Shadow's previous owner. What they found was horrifying. Shadow had been part of an illegal dogfighting ring. He had been abandoned after losing too many fights. Liam overheard the vet reading it aloud, and his heart shattered. "They hurt him?" he asked, trembling. "They did," the vet said softly. "But you gave him something they never did, a chance." Liam clenched his fists. "I'm never letting anyone hurt him again." Outside the clinic, the sun dipped low in the sky, casting long shadows across the street. But inside that room, where a boy sat beside a 3-legged dog, the light was only beginning to shine. To be continued. Shadow's past didn't define him anymore. Not to Liam. To Liam, he wasn't a victim of cruelty. He was a warrior who had survived the darkest night and still managed to wag his tail. Word of Shadow's story spread beyond the vet clinic. One of the nurses had posted a photo of Liam reading to the dog beside his kennel. It went viral. People across the country saw the boy with tear-streaked cheeks holding a book in one hand and a dog's paw in the other. Soon, newspapers called, then local TV, then national news. But Liam didn't care about the cameras or interviews. He just wanted to bring Shadow home. It took another month for Shadow to be strong enough to leave the clinic. By then, Liam's room had turned into a mini sanctuary. There was a new bed near his own toys, bowls, treats, even a handmade nameplate that read, Shadow, family forever. The day Shadow came home, Liam waited by the front steps in the same red raincoat he had worn that first day. When the clinic van pulled up, he ran to the door. Shadow, now healthy, his coat fuller, his eyes bright with life, stepped out slowly on 3 legs. Liam opened his arms. Welcome home, hero. Shadow limped straight into his embrace and licked his cheek. They were inseparable from that moment on. Every morning, Shadow limped alongside Liam to the bus stop. Every evening, he waited at the gate, tail wagging wildly. At night, he curled up beside Liam's bed, his breathing soft and steady. One day, Liam came home with an envelope from school. It was about a local contest. Heroes in Our Lives. Liam didn't even hesitate. He picked up a pencil and started writing. My hero doesn't wear a cape. He doesn't fly. He doesn't speak with words. But he taught me what bravery looks like. His essay, paired with photos of Shadow's recovery, won first prize. During the award ceremony, Liam stood on stage with Shadow by his side, a medal hanging around the dog's neck. But the most beautiful reward came later. An anonymous donor, touched by Liam's story, donated funds to build a small community shelter, named Shadow's Place, a refuge for injured, abandoned animals. Liam and his mom were invited to the opening. When they cut the ribbon, Liam whispered to Shadow, You're saving lives now, just like I hoped. The shelter became a beacon in their town. Families who had never considered adopting came and met animals they'd never forget. One afternoon, Liam walked into the shelter with Shadow by his side and spotted a little girl sobbing in a corner. A tiny cat with a missing ear sat beside her. He knelt next to her. What's his name? She sniffled. I don't know. He doesn't like anyone. Shadow limped forward and gently licked the kitten's head. The kitten purred, pressing into Shadow's chest. The girl's eyes lit up. He likes your dog. Then he must like heroes, Liam smiled. Just like you. The girl adopted the kitten that day. Years passed. Liam grew taller. Shadow aged, his muzzle gray, his steps slower. But their bond never weakened. One crisp autumn evening, as golden leaves floated from the trees, Shadow didn't get up from his bed. Liam sat beside him, now a teenager, his hand resting on that familiar fur. You remember the rain? Liam whispered. You look so small, so cold, but you never gave up. Shadow looked at him, eyes soft with love. And I never will either, Liam said, because you showed me how to be strong. Shadow let out one last breath, peaceful and full of grace. Liam didn't cry right away. He just held him, heart pounding, grateful. They buried Shadow beneath the old oak in their yard, the one they always sat under together. A small stone marked the spot. Shadow, the dog who taught me to love. That night, a storm rolled through. Rain tapped gently on the roof. Liam stood by the window in his red raincoat, looking out. He didn't feel sad. Not really. He felt full. Because a boy's tear once saved a dying dog's life. And that dog saved his in return. The end.